Ezra Levant is a journalist and publisher of Rebel News, and yesterday he was arrested while reporting on a pro-Palestinian protest in a Jewish neighborhood of Toronto. Take a look.
So you're refusing to leave?
I'm refusing to leave.
Why?
Because I'm a Jew, I'm a citizen, and I'm your boss. And I don't leave because you say Jews aren't allowed on the street.
In the interest of keeping peace here and public safety, you're under arrest for breach of the peace.
I'm good. Take this. I'm being arrested because I'm standing on the sidewalk in my city.
Here to discuss with us is Blaze media critic Rob Eno and Ezra himself. So Ezra, tell us more. Take us into what actually happened yesterday.
Sure. I mean, that's my neighborhood. I live just a mile away, and I saw on social media that some pro-Hamas activists had set up this bizarre display, sort of reenacting the last moments of Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas. And I thought, that's crazy. They've come into a Jewish residential neighborhood. There's no embassy there. There's nothing there other than Jewish families. And they're doing this whole sort of Hamas reenactment. I thought, that's nuts. So I went there with my camera to take a photo of it. I actually went very low key, just my cell phone. I wasn't making a fuss. I wasn't even interviewing anyone. I just wanted a picture of what they were doing, because Toronto police claim they're cracking down on various crimes, and in Canada there are hate crimes, but there's also uttering threats and trespass and mischief, etc. But before I could film this monstrosity, the police grabbed me and pushed me away. And I said, what are you doing? I'm on the public sidewalk. Why are you moving me and not them? And they pushed me about 40 feet away, so I was far away from it, I couldn't film it anymore. And they said, your very presence here is causing an illegal disturbance. I said, I haven't, they said I was inciting an outrage. I said, I haven't incited anything. I'm just being here. I'm just standing on a public sidewalk. They said that's enough to incite a disruption, and you saw the arrest there. It was nuts. Now, in Canada, by the way, our Supreme Court recently treated a case like this. They said it is illegal for police to arrest someone who's not doing anything illegal just because other people might cause a disruption or be offended. So what happened to me was purely illegal. It violated my rights, but the cops did it anyways, because who's going to stop them? These cops have allowed Canada's worst crime wave ever. Like, Toronto is a lawless city, and on top of a regular crime wave, there's now an anti-Semitic crime wave. Schools have been torched. Schools have been shot at. Synagogues are burned. Windows are smashed. It happens so often it doesn't make the news anymore. And I just simply go there to report the facts quietly, just taking a video in my own neighborhood. And the cops handcuff me, arrest me, take me to the police station, search me, and throw me in a jail cell.
Ezra, it really is unbelievable. I mean, it sounds like you were going to cause a disturbance. I'm just trying to parse this out logically, because it's really hard to wrap your head around it. I mean, the only possibility is, it sounds like, because you were doing a journalism, as the kids say, and you are Jewish. I mean, it seems like those two facts would incite these I mean, is that... I don't even know how to wrap my head around that. And then also, do you have any recourse here? Because it seems like they have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, I mean, I had been to this same protest last week, and then I did talk to some of these pro-Hamas protesters, and their comments to me were just insanely anti-Semitic. They, I guess, knew I was Jewish. Maybe I looked Jewish or something. And they were saying, they were threatening an intifada, which is the Arabic word for an anti-Semitic riot. So they have expressed their antipathy towards me being a Jew before. What's weird is the cops know that, the cops see that. They say, we don't like Ezra Levant being here, and we're getting agitated. And instead of saying, we're in Canada, everyone of every religion is allowed to be on the public sidewalk, the cops are doing their bidding. It's like the cops are their concierge. Your question, do I have any recourse? Well, after making me cool my jets in a jail cell for a few hours, they let me go without any charge. So they falsely arrested me. They handcuffed me. They humiliated me in public. You probably heard some of the cheering from the pro-Hamas people when the Jew was arrested. I have to sue them in civil court because they violated my constitutional rights. I mentioned that they violated that unanimous Supreme Court ruling that you just can't arrest someone because other people are disturbed. And the thing is, this is the first time in my life I've ever been arrested or jailed for anything. But one of my reporters who's sort of on the same beat, he's been arrested 5 times in 2024, always for doing journalism. It's crazy in Canada. I mean, this sounds like it would happen in Turkey or Iran or Russia or something. A journalist being arrested, not for a crime, but for disturbing some authority by doing journalism. I want to tell your American viewers, hold on to your First Amendment tightly. And it's better to fight in the first ditch than the last ditch. Look at Canada as a kind of dystopian time machine of what America could look like a few years in the future if you don't hold fast. Or look at the UK. They're even further gone than Canada. We are a bad example, a cautionary tale for you to learn from. Do not give up your freedom of speech as we are up here.
So the Palestinian riots, they were going on all over the place. And where was Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? He was dancing at a Taylor Swift concert, Ezra. That's what he was doing. So what should he be doing to try and get this under wraps?
Well, he's abided these pro-Hamas riots and crimes for more than a year. So it was absolutely appropriate that he was being his childish self, partying as a Swiftie. When Montreal was burning, there were real European-style riots in Montreal on Friday night. It was shocking to Canadians. By the way, this weekend where I was arrested, they had signs saying, "Go to Amsterdam." I mean, as in, that's where one of the riots were a couple weeks ago in Europe, where they beat Jews on the street. Trudeau is courting the pro-Hamas vote, so much so that he said he's in favor of arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. Trudeau was so supportive of Hamas, you'll find this hard to believe, but you can Google it. Hamas made a special thank you video for Canada. I'm not kidding. They published a thank you video because Canada has sided with Hamas against Israel. Canada has put sanctions against Israel. Trudeau did the math. There's about 400,000 Jews in Canada, and there's about 2 million Muslims in Canada. Now, not all the Muslims are anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas, of course, but Trudeau has done the math, and he thinks it's better for him in terms of political outcomes to demonize Israel, to turn a blind eye to anti-Semitic violence on the streets. So he's made a political calculation. I think it's an immoral calculation. That's another worry that Americans should be alive to. Beware of mass immigration from countries that don't share American cultural values. We did not vet our immigrants, and I don't know if you are also, but if you bring in people from endemically anti-Semitic countries, don't be surprised when they bring those feelings to America.
Yeah, well, Rob, you'll be happy to know we brought our media critic, Rob, with us. He's here with us today, in part because he is a dual citizen, working to get your citizenship affirmed to vote out Trudeau. So, good vetting.
Yeah, so I need a good riding to move to for about a month before the election when they call the snap, so I'll be talking to you about that, Ezra. But I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Trudeau, right? He's been prime minister since 2015. I looked at the immigration numbers today. Very flat, constant rate of immigration until he came, then it went up a little bit. But since COVID, it looks like the population of Canada has gone up 8% from about 35 million to over 41 million people. And then what's funny to me, and you can talk a little bit about it, is right after the election when, millions of North Americans said that they wanted to move to Canada, he put a moratorium on immigration, it seems.
Well, what's the scariest thing to me is that Trudeau is one of the few people in the world who said, we'll take refugees from Gaza. And he just recently announced, I think it's going to quintuple the number of Gazans. That is insane. Not even fellow Arab countries are willing to take migrants from Gaza. That is madness. Trudeau has brought in so many people, and they're here on false pretenses. Let me give you a statistic. There are more foreign students in Canada than there are Canadian students. There are literally 1 million foreigners who claim to be in university here. There's not that many Canadians in all of our universities combined. He has brought in, and let me multiply the number by 10, because Canada's about 1/10 the size of America. He brought in 2 million people last year, legally. That's like 20 million in America. And that doesn't even mean the illegals. Let me throw one last thing at you on immigration. Trump has said he's going to have mass deportations. I believe him. Some people may try and hide. Some will be deported. But others will say, you know what? Let's go up to Canada. World's longest undefended border. Trudeau's a sucker. Haitians in America, well, Montreal speaks French. Go there. I'm worried that hundreds of thousands of criminals or people who are bogus refugees are going to flee north into Canada. Trump will love that. Americans will love that. Self-deportation will be a thing. But Trudeau is going to have even more unvetted migrants. And I'm not saying every migrant is foul, but it's out of control. And a lot of the people I'd say 90% of the people in these anti-Semitic hate marches and the anti-Semitic riot, 90% of them are foreign nationals. Yeah. We have brought over hundreds of thousands of people who have decided that their contribution to Canada is going to be to march in pro-terrorist rallies. They're not Canadian. Send them home. They're here under false pretenses. I know I'm sounding hardline about it, but I see my country turning into a no-go zone like parts of Europe.
It's insane, Ezra. Can you just real quickly, how do they get rid? I mean, Trudeau is on his last legs, right? There needs to be an election called by October of next year. But for our American viewers, you're not on a set schedule, right? There's the possibility Trudeau has survived 2 no-confidence votes. There's the possibility that any day now or right after the first of the year, they could call a no-confidence vote, and then there's election within, 45 days or 50 days after that?
We have about 60
seconds,
That
is Ezra. A possibility. That's the nature of the parliamentary system. Problem is, so many members of parliament need to stick around for 1 more year for their pensions to vest. So a lot of the MPs who would have the power to call an election, they don't want to do that yet until they personally lock in their golden pensions. I think we're stuck with Trudeau for another 11 months.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Well, you know what? Stay out of jail, and we're going to have you back on the show anytime that you don't get arrested, too. We appreciate all the insight.